I got my homeboy Pete with me, and we letting everybody know who got a dream. Yo, stay focused. Keep moving forward. It's on the way. Keep that dream alive. If you got a dream, don't look to the left, nor the right. Let's go.
Your fate is in Jesus. Completion is here before you even begin. Dreaming big of my life in the future. Already knowing that it's not far. Having the passion to work towards Jesus. I'm gonna keep my faith and swagger going hard. Don't lose it like just push straight. You don't have to fear more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. I am your host, Yolanda, and tonight I'm excited about our special guest that we have tonight because she is going to show you how to go from stuck to a victorious living life. So, look, if you're just tuning in, please share this broadcast, invite a couple of friends, a family member, whoever you want to join with us tonight, because our guest is going to be sharing her heart, and she's going to probably motivate and inspire you to move in a different direction than where you are right now. So again, thank you so much for tuning into the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show, where you will hear stories from people who have experienced hell on earth and have walked past hell to share their stories. You will also hear what they are doing now and how their businesses, nonprofits, and ministries were birthed from their past trauma. So let's empower the world, one story at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Yolanda Jerry.
Welcome back. And we are here with none other than Dr. Yolanda Jerry, the empowerment advocate. Yes, we're about to empower somebody's life on today. So again, happy Thursday. Thanks for being here. I want to tell you about my very special guest, none other than Miss Noreen M. Henry. She is a victorious living strategist who is passionate about seeing your life transform from defeat to victory through victorious living cultures, products, and services. As a result of the many trials and tribulations, Noreen learned the tools to be victorious, and that she can have joy, she can have peace, and she can have happiness in the midst of chaos while overcoming. She is an ordained minister, a coach, a speaker, a trainer, an 8-time #1 international bestseller, and her book Victorious Living: Guide to a Happier Life was #1 in hot new releases. Noreen is a mother of 3 children and 4 grandchildren and resides in New York City. So look, everybody, get yourself together and let's welcome Miss Noreen to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. Hello, Noreen.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, trying to stay warm in this cold weather. And I know for a fact that it's got to be freezing up there in NYC.
Oh my gosh. I'm fortunate I don't have to go outside in it.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine. Look, I just got back from North Carolina, and look, when I woke up in the morning, it was like 15 degrees. I was like, 15 what? I was like, no, I need to go back down to Mississippi. But
Wow.
I did have the opportunity to see a little snow while I was there.
Right. That's New York weather.
Oh, Lord. Well, look, y'all can keep that weather up there in New York until it warms up, okay? Noreen, look, we're excited about having you as a guest on our show. I know tonight we're going to be talking about your story, and we're also going to be sharing about how you went from stuck to victorious living. And some people will be like, okay, we all know how to become unstuck and go into victorious living, but everybody's story is different. So we're going to go ahead and dive in a little bit more. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, something that I did not read in your bio, and also let us know where you're originally from and anything else you want us to know when it came to your childhood up to now?
All right. So what you did not read in this bio. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm grateful for that. So something that was not on there is I was on the billboard in Times Square, New York City. So I had a feature on there. So that was something that's not on that.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Everybody don't get to be on the billboard. And then you're #1 international bestseller. Oh my gosh. Come on now.
And where I'm from originally is London, England. I'm from East London, a small town in East London.
Okay. From the UK. You've got the UK in the house by way of going also in New York City. So
Right.
tell me, I want to ask. I've been to London. I actually had the opportunity to speak at a conference there
Okay.
about 2 years, but this was prior to COVID. So it's
Mm-hmm.
2019, I believe, around April timeframe. And it's a beautiful place to be. And,
Yeah.
it's my first time ever there. There was, everybody's culture is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things for me is, like it seems like everything there was like, I don't know how you want to call it, small, like my room, the room, the hotel, the hotel room I was in.
Yes.
I was like, okay, well, I'm in this hotel room, and then I check in. I was like, I'm in a twin size bed. I was like, okay.
Yes, that's how it is. Everything is smaller over there.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, but it was so much history and so many things that I did get to see that I only
That's
saw on
awesome.
television, So I took a whole lot of pictures. The
Nice.
food there was amazing. Of course, I'm a foodie girl, so I try to eat everything over there.
Did you have the fish and chips?
Oh, yes, I did. I sure did. Fish and chips. I went to. I even had the opportunity to go to. I don't know what the name of the place is over there. It's a Christian. I can't even think of the name of it, but I took some beautiful pictures while I
Mhm.
was there. Went to the palace.
Okay, yeah, the Buckingham
Yeah,
Palace, yeah.
where they're basically marching front side to side, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." So I enjoyed my time while I was there.
Awesome, awesome.
Outside of what you see on TV, there was a lot of things that when you see, sometimes people think you go to a different country.
Mm-hmm.
There are different things that you see, but then you also see some things that are similar.
Right,
There's poverty everywhere.
right, right.
There's human trafficking everywhere.
Yeah,
You know, um, and
that's a
yeah,
shame.
yeah. But the people over there in UK are very polite.
Yeah,
I didn't have any issues there. I didn't feel like I was somebody that was just a tourist. So amazing stuff.
you felt at home.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in UK?
Well, for me, I find that the people, biggest thing was the people are nicer.
Mm-hmm. That's
That was
what you
my
come to
biggest
New York and then what
thing
happened?
over here.
Had a culture shock when you came to New York, right?
They kinda we came straight to New York too.
Yeah, because we know some of them New York people, they like that fast life, and some of them just like rude. I'm from the South, right? And so from the South, we got this thing called Southern hospitality. So we speak to everybody. We say,
Right,
hello, how you doing? And
right,
I'll never forget when I went to New York for the first time, I was just like, I say hello, and the people looking at me like, what's she talking to me for? I say, oh,
right. That's
I was
why.
like, okay. I was like, I ain't mean no harm. I was just saying hello. And
Yeah,
I just kept it moving. And
on.
from that point, I was like, well, I'm gonna just wait for a New Yorker to speak to me before I speak to him.
If you met me, I would have spoke to you. But that's what it is like though, because like I go, my father lives in Orlando, so when I go to Orlando, I adjust to how it is over there. And then when I come back to New York, I have to adjust back to how it is in New York because the people are
Right.
friendly over there,
I got
more friendly. New Yorkers are friendly, but it's just different.
Right. Wow. Well, Look, you get to see both sides. You get to be nice and not nice, huh? No, let me stop. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, Noreen, let's talk about, this topic from stuck to victorious living. We know that a lot of people endure some type of trauma or have had some setbacks in their life. So, let's hear about what that was that at that point in your life where you were stuck before you even made it to a victorious living. Can you share with us in the audience what that was for you?
Yeah, it's a few things actually that I was stuck in. So I overcame like different things. One was I was stuck in the cycle of emotional eating. Another one I was stuck in a relationship where I was going around the same mountain like for years, thinking that it's gonna change, right? But then eventually, no, it ended up being dissolved, right? So it was just different things, and then with the different things that happen, there's brokenness, and then there's mediocrity, living in mediocrity. So it's these different levels of things. So it's been becoming unstuck like one by one. Like say for instance, with emotional eating, when I was eating emotionally, when I first started doing that, I didn't know that there was a name for it. So when I learned that there was a name for it, then I started to read books. I started to get educated about it, strategizing my way out. And so to the point where I don't emotional eat anymore. But that's what it took for me to become unstuck from that.
Right.
So if
Now,
I didn't do that, I would still be stuck in that cycle.
yeah. So, I've not had anybody yet that talked about emotional eating. So, if that's okay, I'd like you to dive into that a little bit more. What, you were emotionally eating, but what was that trigger for you? What triggered you to constantly eat? It had to be something that say, this is because your emotional eating is what kind of calmed you down a little bit, or probably brought you back to a place where you felt okay and not uneasy. So, what caused you? What were those things that caused you to emotionally eat?
It was unhappiness when something was wrong, and it was, and it really started. It started in the relationship. Like I can think back and know. I don't know the exact date, but I know the time of when it started, and it was because we were in a. I remember we were sitting in the kitchen having a conversation, but it wasn't a very happy time, and it was at that point that I started to eat emotionally, and so it's whenever something was wrong. It was
Wow.
being unhappy. So it was a coping mechanism.
Mm,
That's
okay.
really what it was.
Wow. Wow. I can't even imagine being somebody that emotionally eat. Look, I'm a foodie girl by nature, so I'm eating just to eat because I be hungry. But to know that somebody was actually eating because it was a coping mechanism for
Yeah.
them to try to deal with what they were dealing with. So, having said that, were there any medical issues that you dealt with at that time?
No,
Knowing that was there any fluctuation with weight or anything like that?
the biggest thing for me was the weight. So when it started, when I started to eat emotionally, because you don't like I didn't know that what I was doing, right? I didn't know I was eating emotionally. I just was eating more, but I didn't know the reason for it.
Right.
And so of course I started to gain weight, excess weight on my body, and then that made things even worse.
Wow.
So, and then I was embarrassed by that because I didn't like the size I was becoming because it went in stages, right? I started to gain, it went up in one size. And at first I used to cut the labels out of my clothes, right? And
Wow.
these were things because it was embarrassing. It was
Oh, you
embarrassing.
didn't want to see the size number or anything like
I didn't want anybody else to see the size.
that. Wow.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I was doing. And so then in hiding behind clothes, like with having jackets on, so that way people don't see your proper body size, right? So because it was embarrassing, even though it was something that I was doing, I was not having that control. It's still embarrassing to be gaining that extra weight.
Wow.
I
So,
wrote that story actually.
oh wow.
Yeah,
Awesome. Good
I wrote
stuff.
that story. Food,
So
food has
how
been
did you conquer that? Like how did you I know you say you started reading books, and so was books one of those things that help, and then how did you actually eventually stop
I
yourself
had
from
to
emotionally eating in the future?
whenever something was happening, I had to consciously think about it and think about my thoughts, and then okay, switch my thoughts to something else. I'll go and do something else to not go to food. and eventually that went away. So when things happen now, and I can't even remember the exact time when it happened, because I was working, like, it wasn't an overnight process either, so it took a while to be delivered from that. And so that's what it was. Oh wait, I'm having a thought to go eat just because this is happening. No, change my thought to something else, or just get up and do something else.
All right, so you
So
had to
that's
look
how
at
I stopped emotional eating.
making a conscious effort to
Mhm.
recognize what was happening
Yeah,
instead of just allowing it to happen. And
right.
I know sometimes that can even, take a lot of work until it becomes
It
something
is
that
though.
becomes a normal habit for you, or a new move in life where
Right,
you get that shift and you stay there in that shift.
right, right,
Wow.
right. Because that's what it is. Because with emotional eating too, and if it's not caught right away, it develops into other things, right? So it developed into mindless eating, into binge eating, and you're just eating for no reason, like
Mhm.
maybe out of boredom, anything. And so it's not just emotional eating; it comes with other things, and so it's important to not emotional eat.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad, I'm thankful that you actually shared that, because somebody could be dealing with emotional eating right now and not realize, if you don't catch it, it could lead to long-term effects. Like you said,
Yeah,
you can end up just eating just to eat and not realizing you're doing it. And then that could
right.
add on to you becoming, gaining all this weight,
And
which
more,
could
right,
probably eventually lead to maybe depression, or all kinds of other things, or even medical issues. Because sometimes when you overweight, you
right,
in dealing with blood pressure and heart issues and all other things that you wouldn't even realize that you would be dealing with if you
right,
continue to eat that way. So
right.
wow.
And I'm fortunate where I've never had any medical issues. It really was just the excess weight, but no medical issues. I praise the Lord for that.
Wow. Well, praise the Lord for you becoming unstuck from that emotional eating. Good stuff. Now I know you talked about also being in a relationship,
Yeah.
and feeling like being stuck in a relationship. So what was that being stuck like? What did you have to go through and endure in that season?
It was a lot of put down, a lot of the what's it called, it, mental abuse, right? And part of it too was trying to change me into somebody that I was not. And so that's what caused issues, as well as outside influences. And so it was going through the same mountain like all the years with, okay, gonna do this different, but then no, end up back the same way. So it ended up being a cycle, and that's why I said it's going around the same mountain over and over, right? And then what's that saying? You're doing the same thing and expect different results. And it's because we don't know. The word says we perish for lack of knowledge. Right?
Right,
And so that's one of the biggest things I say. We need to gain the right knowledge so we make the right choices. And
right.
so it wasn't until, gaining knowledge and ended up leaving the relationship that I got back to myself. And if I was to stay in that, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Wow. And so how long did you deal with that mental abuse? Because I know sometimes people, when they think about abuse, it's always physical, but the truth is, I mean, there's levels and different types of abuse. And so for you, it was mostly mental. So was there, name calling, putting you
With
down?
words, yeah, just to put down, like, especially with the excess weight, that's when it got worse as well, right?
Mhm.
Because um, well, I didn't like it myself, but so then with things being said to me like you eat, what was it? You eat, you see food and you eat it, right? Like,
Mhm.
so things being said didn't make me feel any better, right? So
Right, 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 right.
it was that's what it was, the mental abuse, the put down. And
Wow.
so I would say if I wasn't strong within myself, I would have been so depressed.
Hmm.
But it's like I knew, like I had this strength, and I didn't know the Lord as much as I did back then. But
Hmm.
the Lord was always there,
Right,
right?
right,
It's always there.
right.
So again, it was coming out of that. I started to get back to myself, and then I started to. Um, I bought the book "Healing the Brokenhearted,"
Mm.
and I bought the Joyce Meyer's package. Uh, I forgot what it's called now, but there was a package I bought. I think it was to do with emotional healing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it was to do with. Um, and so we're doing these things. That was me strategizing my way to victory, but I didn't know that that's what I was doing at that time.
Right.
It
You
wasn't.
you thought you were just trying to get from
I just
out of that abusive relationship.
right. And
Wow.
so it was. So after a while, how many years later, it came back to me. It's like, wow, I was doing this. I was strategizing for a long time, but didn't know that that's what I was doing. And that's when the Lord led me to victorious living culture.
Wow. I got you. Well, like I mean, you got to go from to become unstuck from abusive relationship because it's basically you have to take action, right?
That's what it is. Yeah.
And being a survivor of domestic violence abuse, I know that's what it's like, to go through the abuse. But when you've had enough, believe me,
Yeah.
and you be like, I know God's going to help. If I just be like, Lord, help me,
Right.
He's going to give you what you need to get out of that abusive relationship. And for
Right.
you, it was, you know, the book, and then going through strategizing with that
Mhm.
information you got from Joyce and everything else. So
Mhm.
good stuff. Well, we're going to go into a commercial break, and then we'll talk a little bit more about some other things that you had to become unstuck for and what you had to do to become unstuck from those things. And we'll be right back. Okay.
You're on mute.
There I go. I had to come off of mute. Thank you. To see you're a good wingman. Look at that. But anyways, thank you. Of course, as you can see, one of our sponsors for tonight's show is none other than YJ Empowerment Solutions, where we launched a book January 6th of this year, and it hit #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Awesome.
Congrats to the guys. If you're looking to get a copy of their book, you can go to hiswalkpasthell.com. So if somebody's tuning in right now, if you could just type that down in the chat for me, www.hiswalkpasthell.com, and get your copy. I'm telling you, these men came with it. We had the women with the part one. It was 30 women in volume one, and then we had, the 9 men in volume two, and their stories are just as powerful, even though it was less number of authors, but they had more words to be able to write. So you can just imagine what those chapters are like. So congratulations again to the My Walk Past Hell volume two, the men authors. All
Awesome.
right. So
Congratulations as well, because that's another thing that's needed, because you don't hear much from men. You always hear about women, but you don't really hear so much from the men. So that's awesome.
absolutely. Yes. I was like, I said, these men had no idea. I said, they're the catalyst right now. They the freak, now I see there's been, more call for men authors, which is awesome. So
Right.
I was
Right.
like, y'all done set the pace. Now it's
Mhm.
just time for more men to come forward.
Yeah.
So good
Wonderful.
stuff. Good stuff.
Wonderful.
So all right, Noreen. So we talked about emotional eating. We talked about, you having to leave your abusive relationship. Now I will ask this because, I feel like it's always important. It's one thing to leave an abusive relationship and, you had to take steps and strategize, but how did you actually exit that abusive relationship? And then what are some of the things you had to continue to do even still so that you didn't go back to that abusive relationship?
But it's very tough. It was very tough. Um, but what going through, like I said, was going around the same mountain and expecting things to change. Um, the last straw was the adultery, and that's when I couldn't do it anymore. Like I just couldn't do it anymore. It was a very confusing time. Am I doing the right thing? Should I stay because of the children? And it's because you don't know what the future is, right? So it's like, what am I doing the right thing? And so it was eventually actually we split up in the home, but he was the one that left the home. So he actually walked out,
Wow.
but it was over, and
Mhm.
I couldn't do it anymore, and so eventually he left.
Wow. It's unfortunate that you had to go through that, but I mean, the great part about that is he left, right? He left,
Yeah,
and
he left. Yeah.
once he left, I guess you was like, you in your mind, back of your mind is like, he left, ain't no coming back.
And it was still confusing because it's like, because he kept saying he was coming back, but he never did, right? So,
Wow.
and then it was confusing with the children as well. So imagine I'm confused. What are my children? Because they were all teens at the time too. So
Mm. Wow. And how did your children deal with that?
it was uh, because they experienced what I experienced. It was actually happy when he left.
Oh, so okay, so they actually got to see it with their own eyes, and you said they were
Yeah,
teenagers, so
yeah,
I get it. They were able to really understand what was really happening.
yeah.
So,
So it
wow,
was like peace. It was peace.
wow.
It was peace. But then it's a lot of stuff too, because then after a while, maybe a year or so, there started to be other issues. Other issues came up, like with my children. But I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah,
It's
no
just that
worries.
there's different things that happen.
Right,
I would think, if he was there, this wouldn't happen. So
right,
that's when it showed me that two parents are needed in the home
right.
from that standpoint.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, it's always, there's some deep rooted things that you deal with when it comes to the after effects of parents
Yeah,
separating,
yeah.
and then it's like if you don't have anything in place, then it's just like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I help my children? At the same time, even trying to help
I help
myself.
myself. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Yep,
Exactly.
I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
So
And
how are they now? I mean, how
they're
are
good. Everyone's good. They're
good?
really good. I got grandchildren. I got 4 grands now. So
Oh,
yeah,
good stuff. Good stuff.
they're really good now.
Good, 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 good. That's good to see that now, there's a great better
Yeah.
outcome and
Yeah.
everybody's happy. So good stuff.
Yeah. Because it
So
was rough, but no, everyone's good now.
right, 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 right. So now what's next? Because you talk about this victorious living, but I know there may have been some other battles that you had to deal with. I know early we talked about, COVID and those different things too,
Yeah.
in the current. But before COVID, was there anything else that you were stuck in that you had to basically become unstuck from?
Um, with there's so many things. Um, Before COVID, let me go back even further. When we came to this country,
Mhm.
um, I was only 17, and my leaving our home and coming to this country it added another layer of brokenness.
Mm,
So we were torn. We were torn. We were literally torn because at the airport, my family, our friends came to see us off, and we were actually tugging, pulling back and forth.
no.
Like, no, we don't want to go, and then they don't want us to go. So we actually made a big scene at the airport. And many years later was when it came up, and it started to bother me. Like, why is it bothering? I'm like, why is it bothering me now when we left? It was many years ago, but it wasn't dealt with.
Oh,
It
okay.
was never dealt with. So it was something that I was stuck in. And
Right.
so as me healing, because it was a healing process, with my healing, different things was coming up, and that's one of the things that came up. So I can be healed from, and I didn't even know it was. I didn't even know I was broken from it.
Didn't even know it was a thing, huh?
Another thing was there was a point where I realized that my heart was hard
Mm,
from all the years of being in the relationship. My heart became hard because of just dealing with the stuff, and then the stuff that was happening. And
mm,
it at one point I said to somebody, I was in church, and I said, my heart is hard. And she's like, how your heart is hard. You're always smiling. But I could feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel it. And if I didn't do anything about that, then I know that something worse would have happened. So I knew that I needed to get healed from that. That was another thing that was stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just so many different things. And I'm going to write my story as well.
Right. So basically, if I'm hearing you right, you left the UK,
Yeah.
but you left the UK not knowing why.
And we knew why. We were told there's more opportunities over here. That's what we were told.
Okay.
But it was just that we're torn. We
Right.
were torn from what we knew, torn from a family over there to come to
Right.
a completely different place.
Right.
And it was because of like that tug. Like I said, we really had a big scene at the airport with everybody crying. Right. And so that's what added another layer of brokenness.
Right.
But
And,
I didn't know until many years later
right. Wow.
when the Lord brought it up for me to deal with.
So how, I mean, when he brought it to you to deal with, how did you deal with it? Because knowing that you were taken from a place where you were torn, right? Because there were better opportunities in the United States versus the UK. But at the same time, when you get to the United States, things are different for you.
Yeah.
Things are not like they were in the UK.
Totally.
The living and lifestyle is totally different. And so I can't even imagine having to adjust to even just adjust into a new way of living.
Right.
You were used to living like that in UK for 17 years,
Right.
all your childhood life. And here it is. Now you come over to the US and it's like everything's fast paced and people are treated different, people are speaking different, and you trying to have to adjust to that.
Yeah. It was a huge adjustment, right? And what helped was we had other family that moved the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all stayed together. And that's
Okay.
what helped. So if we didn't have that, I actually don't know how it would have been.
Wow. At least there was some help though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how were you able to deal with that? Deal with that piece of healing, knowing that you were still dealing with that all these years later. What are some of the things you had to do?
It was talking it out.
Mm-hmm.
Talking with the counselor, talking it out.
Wow. So you had to actually go see a therapist to, talk these things out to try to heal.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, at least you did the right thing, because sometimes people try to deal with those things themselves and they don't. It's like you say, you do the same thing, you think you're going to get a different result, but like you the one with the issue. So how are you going to solve your own issue?
Right. That's right. That's right. And we weren't raised to go to an outsider to speak, right? We were raised to keep it in the house, right?
What happens in the house stays in the house. I know all about that story.
But speaking it out, it is that's how it helps to get our healing.
Right.
And we get the proper help.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Well, it's good to know that you went to a therapist, because I tell everybody all the time, tell therapists, I don't know I don't know what God was doing at the time, but he knew we were going to need therapists in this world. He was like, because sometimes we can be a harm to our own selves and not even realize it. So
definitely.
I just thank God for therapists and counselors, because they know how to, again, push us into a place where we go from stuck to unstuck.
That's right.
And
right. We get the proper help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's important too to make sure that we go to the right person, because when we were trying to make the marriage work, we went to a counselor, and that counselor gave us one advice, and it made things worse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we have to be careful. We have to make sure we're going to someone that's going to help us in the right way.
That's right. And you got to, it's just like anything else. You got to do your homework, find out more about those therapists and those people, what kind of reviews they got, because you don't know what you're getting. Right. So yeah, that is key, making sure you find one that fits. And sometimes it might not fit the first go around. You might have to go through a couple until you get to a place where you feel like you're safe and this person is really helping you.
Right.
That's right. That is just trying to get $1 and really not trying to help you heal.
Yeah, it's such a shame, because so many people are walking around wounded. And then and again, when it goes back to we were raised to keep it to ourselves. So a lot of people are still stuck in that.
Right.
and don't think that they need to go and speak to anybody. I'm fine. No, you're not.
Right. And that's the
I'm,
key.
I'm
So
speaking from experience.
let me tell you them two. There's two statements that you'll hear all the time, and we already know the answer is no, you're not. I'm okay and I'm fine. If you say either one of those, you are not okay and you are not fine. That's just a way to push
What's
somebody
really
off of
going
you.
on?
Right. That's a way to push somebody off of you, you know. And some people will take that and be like, you know, well, I'm not gonna worry about it. She says she okay. But I'm the type of person, I'm gonna ask a couple of times, are you sure you're okay? You know,
Yeah,
you just never know, because that could be a cry for help too, as
that's
well.
right. That's
And
right.
people don't even recognize that.
That's right. Because I will say that doesn't sound right. Don't sound fine to me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What's
Well,
really going on?
yes, ma'am. So, you know, the emotional eating, you became unstuck from that. The abusive relationship, you became unstuck from that, right? And then also having to get out of your own way and see a therapist, you know, getting the healing that you need, you know, having to learn what happened to you years ago, why is it still here now? So you had to actually seek professional counseling just to even deal with that piece.
Yeah,
So again, I mean, you going from, you know, you're stuck, then you're going back to unstuck, and then you're going back to stuck again, but it's
that's
something
right.
different, and you're becoming unstuck. And so this has kind of been a pattern for your life. So, you know, now, you know, when we think about it, you know, is there, you know, I want to touch on this because I know you brought it up, and we don't have to go too deep into it, but because people are dealing with this, and this is a real reality right now,
Yeah.
you know, you mentioned talking about having COVID and
Mhm.
how COVID will put you stuck, you know, and
Yeah.
it'll have you stuck there. But how did you have to heal, you know, to where you're actually being on my show right now and actually here, and I can see you and you look healthy, but I'm sure when you had COVID, there was a time where you were dealing with some of those side effects. And so, can you talk to
Yeah.
us a little bit
Oh,
about
yeah.
that?
It's such a long journey. It was a long journey.
Hmm.
Um, First of all, when I first got sick, I was in and I went to the hospital and they told me that I had to stay. Thoughts were coming to my mind like, you know, you're not gonna make it. My brother actually passed away just a few months before he was in the hospital. It wasn't COVID, it was something else. He passed away just a few months before, and so he didn't come out alive. And now I'm in the hospital, and so things like that was coming to my mind. So because I have great faith and the knowledge that I gained over the years, that one of the things is that we have health, healing.
Hmm.
One of the promises was healing. So I had to, when the thoughts would come, I would think about my healing. I had to change it to healing and think about I'll be fine. And that's what I had to do to fight my way through. If I wasn't strong, I know that if I wasn't strong in my mind, I wouldn't be here, because that's how sick my body was. It was
Wow.
the doctors were concerned. Um, I had no oxygen in my lungs. Right? And my friend even said if I was home a couple more days, my lungs would have collapsed.
Wow.
So it was quite serious, right? It was quite serious. And so for me to be here now, it's because of my strong mind. It's because I know that one of the promises is healing.
Hmm.
No, I'm going to be healed. I've got to go through the process.
Right.
And it was painful. It was horrible, horrible experience.
Hmm.
Right? But I'm here. I'm talking. I'm walking. I'm fine.
Right.
And
I'm
I've,
fine is a good thing right now, y'all. Her saying I'm fine, she's serious because she's on the show right now. Wow. So,
yeah,
so for you to not stay stuck in that negative mindset, because you knew that physically you couldn't do anything,
I couldn't
right?
do
You were
anything.
helpless. You couldn't do anything.
I was
You had to
literally
just
stuck.
allow your body to go through that process.
Right.
But I think that, and you know, sometimes that's true. You know, your mind really controls a lot of
Yeah.
the rest of your body, whether
Yeah.
people believe it or
Yeah.
not, your thought process.
Yeah.
Like if you stay, if you know, they say, you know, there's life and death in the power of the tongue.
That's
So
right.
if you're
Yeah.
speaking negative things about your life, then guess what happens? You know, there's going to be a decline. But if
Right.
you're speaking positivity and you're speaking life over yourself, like you say, and one of the promises is healing, you're like, I know there's healing. I know the Lord is there. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I can do all things through Christ whom strengthens me.
Yeah.
You have all of that. When you start saying those things to yourself, that means not only you're praying over yourself, but you're also holding on to the promises that God said He will do.
That's right.
And sometimes, when people don't speak those positive things into their life, that means they have lack of faith.
Yeah, and they don't, and also the knowledge, right? Because we perish for lack of knowledge. Because
That
many
too.
years ago, I didn't know that, right?
Right.
Many years ago,
Right.
and the other part to it too was, I was getting calls because I know people were not expecting me to live. I laugh because so some of the words that was being said, like I'm like, oh no, that person is not expecting me to live. So again, if I was not strong in
Mhm.
my mind, I would have fell into that, and I could have pondered that. Oh my gosh, they're not expecting me to live, and then negative thoughts would have been entertained, right? So no, I had to nope, not entertain that. Like, wow, they're not really expecting me to live.
Right. Wow. And
So we have to be careful of what people say as well.
that's right. So you, instead of being on the battlefield in your mind, having all of these prayers and thoughts going on in your head, meanwhile, you don't know all these people that are praying the wrong things over you. So
Right.
you still have to still battle that as well. Because
Yeah.
like you say, there's people that probably don't expect me to live or don't even want me here, and
Right.
just imagine what could happen if you weren't praying over yourself, if you
Right.
weren't speaking life over
Right.
yourself. Those attacks are real.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
people believe it or not, those attacks are real,
Yeah.
and they will manifest if you're not fighting that, and you don't have
Right.
on the whole armor of God and on that battlefield fighting for your life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
wow, I'm glad you mentioned that. And for those of you who are tuning into the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show, we are having a real conversation with Noreen N. Henry, where she talked about how she became unstuck from emotional eating, how she became unstuck from abusive relationship, how she became unstuck from dealing with something that was years ago and came into the present, and how she had to deal with that and to seek counseling and see a therapist, and also how she survived COVID by just constantly speaking life over herself and praying and having a positive mindset, even though she was dealing with a major battle at the time, basically on her deathbed. But she kept speaking life and saying, I'm here. I know I'm going to get well. I'm going to get better.
Yeah.
So
And I was gonna say, because what was on my mind as well is that I got too much to do for the Lord.
there you go. Look at that. Like, God's not done with
Like,
me.
wait,
He's not done
what?
with me yet. He's not done with me yet. So I appreciate you speaking on that. Thank you so much. Well,
No,
Noreen,
you're
we're going to go
welcome.
into another commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how you continue to go, how you basically went from, okay, I know I've been stuck, but I ain't going to stay there. And I'm going to continue to be out there in this victorious living type life, because sometimes, and that's basically, you laid it out for us, you get stuck, you become unstuck. How you become unstuck? Basically, don't stay there. You have to do the work.
You have
But
to
I
do the
want you
work.
to explain what that looks like to our audience, and then we'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay.
And our other sponsor for today's show is none other than GoFig Company. If you're looking for some company to automate your systems, looking for a company to build your website, put on your conferences, handle your social media, that company is awesome. And I can also say that I vouch for them because that's who I utilize for a lot of things that I have, my social media, my website, creating my graphics. So if you're looking for someone to hook you up in that area, reach out to them. Their website is www.gofig, that is GEAUXFIG.com. Again, www.gofig, GEAUXFIG.com. GoFig Company. All right, Noreen. So let's talk about this victorious living. like how Noreen is staying in this victorious living. What nuggets can you share with our audience? And of course, we'll go, we'll end it with how, what some of the things that you have going on and what you're doing. Before you go into that, though, those of you who are just now tuning into the Dr. Yolanda Jerry show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're glad to have you. If you want, you can go ahead and make sure you share this broadcast, invite a friend, and make sure that you go back and watch the replay, because if you're just tuning in now, we've already been chatting for about 45 minutes or so. So there's a lot that you've already missed, but you can actually go back and catch the replay on the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show Facebook page, or you can go also over to YouTube under Dr. Yolanda Jerry, the Empowerment Advocate. So, all right, Noreen. So let's give us the good stuff. Like how Noreen, is going unstuck and living this victorious living.
Bottom line is the Lord. Bottom line. But so I had to learn that I can stay in joy, peace, and happiness regardless of what is going on. Because before knowing that, I would get down, I would be sad, but not anymore, because there's no need to be. We have so much in the Lord, we just have to learn it. And so that's one of the things in overcoming in your circumstances to victory. We don't have to stay stuck in whatever the circumstance is. It could be on the job. It's different things, right? But you don't have to stay stuck in it. The biggest thing is to be aware. You have to be aware before you can make any change. And then once you're aware, then you can get a coach to help you through, because it's a process. It's whatever it is a process. Like when people come to work with me, they fill in a form, so we know we start where they are, and then they continue on with the process of overcoming and learning that, okay, even though it's a circumstance that could make you feel down, like could make you feel sad, no, you can just stay happy. You don't have to let it you don't have to let it bring you down. So what one of the scriptures is when you call it all joy, when you're going through various trials and tribulations, because we're on this earth, we're gonna face things, right? We're gonna face things, but it's to learn the tools to go through to overcome. We don't have to stay stuck in that.
Right. Absolutely. And
We have joy, peace, and happiness.
right. I like that you mentioned, basically knowing who the Most High is, right? Having, because like you said, we perish for lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And sometimes the knowledge, all they have to do is just go in that book. The book, I mean, just, there's instructions there, in every book in the Bible, there's something there that you can learn from, to help you cope with whatever you're coping with.
Right.
And so I'm glad that you mentioned that, knowing where your help comes from.
Yeah.
God, and knowing that he will never leave us nor forsake us,
Right.
even though we think he's not there, he's always there.
Right. Right. And
So
weapons are gonna form because we have the enemy, and not everybody believes, but this is my belief, that there is an enemy out there that is out to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Right.
that's right.
But we have to learn what we have in order to combat whatever is coming against us.
Right. Absolutely. This is, like I say, put on the whole armor of God.
Right.
That's one of the best ways to go ahead and battle that enemy, because, truth be told, that's all it is, battles of the enemy that we deal with.
Yeah.
And the devil likes to have us think certain things, about people or about us.
Yeah.
Or and let me tell you, if you're not rooted in the Word of God, that's the devil's playground right there. He loves when you have anxiety. He loves when you're stressed. He loves when he knows it can come and attack. And I'm telling you, once that attack happens, it's like hard. I mean, that battle is real hard to come back out of sometimes.
Right.
On what you're dealing with.
Right. And that's why we have to learn how to deal with them. Because many years ago I didn't know how. So I was just living. Living. Whatever happened. I did not have that control. I didn't know to have that control. I didn't know I could create the life that I really want to create.
Right.
I had to learn all of that.
Right. Right. And knowing that you had to learn all that, if you were talking to somebody right now, who didn't know, who wasn't knowledgeable, what are some of the things that you would give them to become unstuck if they're stuck right now? Because somebody might be stuck in a situation, or they
Mhm.
might be stuck in their thoughts, or they might be stuck in trying to figure out
Right.
what steps to take next. What are something that you can give to them to push them and encourage them to move in another direction?
You got to take a analyze your life. Analyze your life. Write down what you're thinking. Write down what's going on, and then um, speak with somebody to get the help to go move to the next step.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you have to stop and analyze whatever is going on. Like, for example, I actually was feeling sick again. Like, what? Because like there was a relapse. Why?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to stop. I had to sit down and analyze what was going on, why that was happening. And once I did that and realized, okay, I should not be doing this. I should be doing this. Then I started to feel better. So I had to stop and analyze. And that's the biggest thing that we need to do is analyze. If we don't analyze, we can't do anything. If we don't know, we can't do anything different.
Right,
We
right,
end up staying stuck in the same cycles.
right. Very true. And one of the best ways to analyze what you have going on is
Mm-hmm.
grab a notebook,
Yeah.
grab a pen and paper, and just start writing that stuff down.
Yeah.
Because when you write things down, it's one thing to have it in your head. But when
Mhm.
you write things down, then you can go back and you have some tangible that you can look at and say, okay, it's right here in my face.
Yeah.
Now, what am I going to do with it?
Right. And you
'Cause
really see what's going on when it's on paper. You see it clearer
Mhm.
when it's on paper
That's true.
than when you just have it in your mind.
Right, absolutely. And then you can start taking the necessary steps, like you said. What do I need to do with this situation?
Yeah.
Whether it's me having to seek a coach, whether it's me having to seek a therapist,
Yeah.
whether it's me having to go to speak to someone at church, whatever it is, at least this is what I'm dealing with. Now,
Right.
what do I need to do from here?
Help.
Right.
Because we have help. We have help. We just have to make sure that we go out and seek the right help.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, Noreen, what are some of the things that you have coming up? Anything that you have going on that you would like our viewing audience to know or partake in?
I actually have what I have coming up is a co-author collaboration project.
Okay.
So what the Lord has given me is the theme is Stuck is Not Your Story. And so we did the first one last year. It was Stuck is Not Your Story, Change is Possible. Some
Okay.
powerful stories, like stuff that people go through. It's like, wow, and overcome. And so that's what it's about. So the next one will be Stuck is Not Your Story, I Overcame. And
Okay.
so there's a call for authors now for that.
Wow.
So if anybody's interested, they can go to startyourvictoriouslife.com, and information is on there about that. Because
Good.
it's
Good.
about helping people to know that they're not alone and that they too can change.
Amen. That's true. That's the thing. When more people talk about, their stories and share their stories, and people pick that book up and they start reading, they'll be like, wow, I saw myself in that story.
That's right.
I saw myself at some point in my life, and I was in it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what you'll hear people say is, if I would have had this book back then, this
That's
could have
right.
helped me. So,
Right.
anybody that's watching, if you're interested in becoming an author or becoming a co-author, you can go ahead and connect with Miss Noreen. She has a book that's getting ready to come out, and you can connect with her, at startyourvictoriouslife.com, or you can follow her on Facebook or Instagram and send her a message there to connect with her if you want to know more information about, the book. And also, she has her academy, right? This is
Yeah.
your VLC Academy. If you're
Yeah.
looking to connect with a coach, Noreen Henry is one of the coaches that you can reach out to as well.
Yeah.
And what else do you have going on?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I'm writing another book, more than one book. I'm working on more programs to add into the academy,
Okay.
and however I'm led.
Amen. Amen. You know, and I always say, look, with COVID going on and all this stuff going on, people should be birthing all kinds of babies
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
it. Can't go anywhere.
There's no reason why nobody should be birthing at least one, two, or three babies in a year with this
That's
COVID
right.
going on. You can't go to too many places, so you might as well just go ahead and have your little party right at home.
Exactly.
Get that
Exactly.
passive income coming in. Yes, ma'am. Well, Noreen, I'm glad that you were a guest on my show tonight. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you, sharing your heart about, your different stories in your life when you had to become unstuck and go to a victorious living. So thank you so much for being
You're
here.
welcome.
Is there any last minute thoughts or any last minute words that you would like to leave with the audience before we end the show tonight?
Victorious living, it's possible, but you have to do something different. Otherwise, we stay stuck. If we don't do anything different, nothing changes. So there's always hope.
Amen. Thank you so much for sharing those words. And for those of you that's just now tuning in, make sure you go back and catch the replay on the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show via Facebook, or you can go to Dr. Yolanda Jerry, the Empowerment Advocate, on YouTube. Invite someone, let them know that we were talking with Miss Noreen N. Henry when she talked about becoming unstuck and going to a victorious living life. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. This is the end of our show. Make sure you tune in every week at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here at the same place. And always remember, if nobody has told you today that they love you, know that I love you, but most of all, God loves you. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week. God bless. Take care.